everyone, and welcome to an Anime Club After Dark special. I'm your host, Alex, but you can call me Senpai, and joining me tonight, I have our chivalry of Shota's Shotaro.
It's Brittany, bitch.
You're Anyway, so tonight we are covering the 7th episodic review of Sarazanmai. So, show.
Me.
Yes. So, in this episode, episode 7, we learned, I would say, a lot more about the so-called otter peoples.
Gotta love those otter people.
Exactly. I like how, so you referred to the opening scene before the OP as Mabu's maintenance scene.
But he calls it maintenance.
I know. And it's just so weird because it looks like he's being fucking, shall we say, serviced.
So, first we get just the audio of the otter making, sexual innuendos, and then Mabu being like, yes, please do it. And
give it to me, baby.
And then we see Mabu baking otter cookies, and I'm like, okay, so you pretended it to be sexual, but it's actually not. But also, why are you baking otter cookies? That's the most random thing to do. But this show is not very... the show is very random like that. But then they're like, nope, this is actually sexual. And then, Mabu takes off his shirt, and then the otter starts stroking his
body.
Topless chest. And I'm like, what? That was also very disturbing. I did not want to see that.
It was something, to say the least. And he keeps going lower and lower. Like, are you gonna stop anytime soon? Oh no, you're not. Okay. That was. It's like the toothbrush scene in Monogatari. It's like, okay, this is where you want to go with it. We're going there.
This show has a lot of toothbrush scenes.
Yeah, this show has a lot of toothbrush scenes, and sometimes back to back, which is crazy. Something else. So this episode takes place after the whole Kazuki getting outed and them actually going back to being regular humans. They get back from their kappa forms. And it seems as though everything's been put right between Kazuki and Haruka.
Yeah,
it's almost there's a small scene where you see the whole family sort of eating breakfast together, and they're all just kind of smiling, and they're like, well, that happened. Let's move on.
Yeah. And I feel like all the secrets are gone at this point, even though we're at episode 7 and everything is resolved.
Yeah, well, all the secrets are definitely out from Kazuki for sure.
And he's the main character, so that's all that matters.
I just thought it was weird that there was no scene of them talking this out. Why did you do this? What was the whole point? But maybe we're supposed to infer that all happened off screen.
I don't know, because they never talked about him being adopted, so it's kind of like them just passively accepting him like they always have.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe
that's what I interpreted.
It's one of the things that I'm actually really loving about this show is that it never spoon feeds you anything. It makes you figure shit out on your own.
And also, but it does not make it too hard to figure out. You can figure it out if you just think about it.
Or if you just keep watching the show, because a lot of stuff starts to fall into place.
Yeah. And also, I don't know if it was in this episode. I think it was in the last episode or something, where the dad says to either the mom or Haruka that he sees the resemblance between Azuma Sara and Kazuki. So that might have been a hint that they talked about it without Kazuki. They talked about it amongst themselves, and then they decided to not bring it up with Kazuki. That's what I interpreted.
Maybe that I didn't even think about that until you brought it up. You might be right. That's incredibly subtle storytelling, if that's true. I mean,
this show is all about subtle storytelling.
Well, subtle storytelling with very overt visual.
Not always. Not always a good touch.
Well, it's been interesting so far. But yeah, I mean, it was just something that I found weird. It's like the whole thing where you see the scene of Kazuki and Haruka sort of at the river, and they're like, head pat and like, let's go on.
Oh my god, I love that head pat scene.
Let's never talk about that again, and let's just go on with our lives.
Oh my god. Kazuki and Haruka have a connection deeper than words.
You really want this to be about incest in the end, don't you?
No, it's not me. It's the show. Oh my god! But like that scene where he had patted Haruka, like he did like a really wide smile. I think that's like supposed to signify that he's over his like all of his problems, not his problems, all of his insecurities.
Yeah,
and, like, he's finally feeling comfortable with himself. So that was really nice to see.
Yeah, it does sort of like wrap a little bow around that whole storyline, doesn't it?
It does. So this is the last episode, no?
No, it's not the last episode. There's much more, thankfully. So something else that happened in this was we got to see Kazuki basically invite Toei to join the soccer club at their school during the next semester of school. It's almost as like it's like you're inviting a new person into your friend group, and I think it's a really cool thing because we know from past episodes that Toei has not had the best childhood and really hasn't had many people that he feels like he can rely on.
Yeah.
So I think it was great to see.
So that scene where Enta and Kazuki were playing at their usual soccer spot, and then Kazuki calls out to Toei on the bridge and is like, "Hey, come join us." Okay, I was like, "You're interrupting our solo time between Kazuki and Enta. So what are you doing?" and then Toei comes in and then Kazuki's like, "Why don't you join the soccer club with us?" And I'm like, "I thought you were the golden duo. Why are you not the golden trio?" And then Enta's like, I thought Enta was gonna be like, "What the fuck are you doing, Kazuki? This is my territory." But he's like, "Yeah, let's go." And I'm like, what? That was so weird because, okay, since we've seen the end of the episode, we know why. But while I was watching it, I thought it was really weird because I relate to Enta, and if I was Enta, that shit would not have happened. I would have been like, I would have put my foot down and be like, "Kazuki, no." Kazuki,
well, okay. Since you brought it up, we'll skip ahead a little bit. So part of this whole thing with Toei joining them for, like, I guess you'd call it like practice that they're doing over a summer break, their soccer spot next to the river ends up getting vandalized. Kazuki and into the soccer spot, and then they end up cleaning it up, and it looks nice.
What did you think about that? Like when while you were watching it? Yeah, not
okay. So so it happens twice. So it happens that one day when they come there and it's vandalized, and I thought my initial reaction was, "Oh, that's weird," but I'm sure this will eventually have something to do with the story. And then they come back the day after they get done cleaning this place up, and it's vandalized in almost the exact same way. I'm thinking, all right, someone's fucking with them at this point. I don't know who, but someone's fucking with them.
So the first time I thought it was the people from the other team, even though it was kind of weird because it was so much effort, so I don't know why. And then the second time I thought it was Toei's, someone related to Toei in the Yakuza trying to stop Toei from fraternizing with, I don't know, people, I don't know, or something like that. Because during the second time, while they were cleaning, Toei got a call from his brother, and it was like, oh shit. He had like an oh shit face, so I'm like, oh, so that's why. So yeah, that's what I thought when I saw those scenes.
I kind of had an inkling that might be it, but then there was another part of me that thought, well, maybe it's the two otter police people, Mabu and Reo.
I think they are so lazy. They don't want to do any part of their
I
job.
know.
They don't want to do shit. I can't see them going to the whole effort of vandalizing the soccer spot.
I knew that someone was fucking with him. I didn't know who.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that you wrote down for us to talk about this specific vandalization scene is one of the things we get is kind of a sustained slow-mo shot of soda cans flying through the air. And you wrote down that it's kind of similar to Monogatari. Now, I'm curious as to what you mean by that. I'm wondering, do you mean the scene in Monogatari with the school supplies like slowly falling through the air?
Yeah, there's lots of shots in Monogatari like that, including school supplies, and also I think there was like one where there were books just flying everywhere, just slow motion.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's when Koyomi goes to Kampuru's house and they like clean up all the books she has thrown around. There's like books flying through the air in slow motion.
Yeah.
The scene was very similar to that in terms of how it was shot, how it was directed. Also, I found it funny that almost all the soda cans were like faux name brands. There was like Dr. Kappa,
I didn't
7
notice.
Kappa.
That's funny.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny to me. But yeah, I definitely think in terms of like how it was directed, how it was shot, how it was drawn, that scene and animated, that scene is very similar to some scenes that you get throughout Bakemonogatari for sure, with like slow motion objects falling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just yet another comparison we can make to Monogatari with this series.
This is actually secretly the Monogatari cast.
This is secretly a spinoff of Monogatari. Actually, I could believe that. If someone just came out and said it, I could believe it.
This is a new season of Monogatari.
Yes, this is the monster season adaptation we've always wanted.
The Kappa season.
And I kind of want to finish up on this, even though we're skipping right to the end. So we find out during the leaking scene toward the end of this, that it was actually Enta that vandalized the soccer spot and stole the dishes of hope that they had been collecting.
Yeah, when I first saw that the dishes of hope was stolen, I just assumed it was the otters, obviously. Like, who else? Yeah. But, okay, I was slightly surprised, but not that surprised that Enta, like, when I saw Enta in the flashback doing it, I'm like, I feel you. I know, I would do the same. I was like, I know you. You me. And then but when I saw him steal the dishes of hope, I'm like, damn, you get your man by any means. You definitely he definitely went the extra mile, and I appreciate.
Yeah, he definitely, the extra mile is definitely putting it mildly. Although it seems the idea that he would do this and then sort of betray his, I guess you would call them friends, even though it's a hell of a thing to do to friends, it seems in line with his character that's been established so far. Like, he says that he's gotten over Kazuki, but
did he?
He hasn't.
I don't remember. Maybe he did.
Well, I think he's kind of resigned himself that Kazuki doesn't have any feelings for him the way he does. He's just going to try and be his friend. He says that out loud, but he doesn't believe that.
Yeah. And you know what? Kazuki brought this on himself for not fucking addressing the confession. So, goddamn, Kazuki is a fucking piece of shit.
And that kind of goes back to well, that kind of goes back to what you said a couple episodes ago, that old tired trope of people being confessed to in anime, especially gay romance confessions, and then just ignoring it. It just plays back into that trope.
And this is what happens when you leave loose ends flying around. They come back and they slap you in the face. And you get a scar for life.
Yeah. Also, I'd like to point out that this is the very first time we've ever seen the ED play immediately after a leaking scene. Usually there's a small scene after the leaking scene. This episode went straight from the leaking scene right into the ED.
Very interesting.
It was it was interesting because, usually you're used to them like talking about what was seen during the leaking scene afterwards, but we didn't get to see that this time.
I mean, Kazuki would just ignore it, so why even talk about it?
Probably. You're probably not wrong. So something else that happened this episode, I want to rewind a little bit. We got to see a flashback that Reo was having of sort of what's happened between him and Mabu. The flashback that we saw is he's making a deal with an otter scientist, which is, the otter puns in this episode were great. But he's making a deal with him to save Mabu. We don't actually see what like the terms of this deal are, but the fact that obviously something has happened for Reo to cause Mabu to get hurt at some point in the past.
Okay, so like it's been 7 episodes and we're just now getting an inkling of who these people are, like, and what drives them to act the way they are. And like I don't care at this point. It's been 7 episodes. I really am like uninterested, but go ahead, show. Tell me who these people are.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of get where you're coming from. It's like, you've been teasing these people for so long. We're like, hurry up and tell us something about them. And it's like, we're more than halfway through. And now you're going to reveal like the actual motivations and shit behind what these supposed villains are why they're doing what they're doing. I definitely get where you're coming from. Although I have to say the reveal was interesting, especially in the post-credit scene.
I thought it was interesting.
So I mean, obviously we can say what happened. So we find out that Mabu. We still don't know what the terms of this deal are, but we know that what happened was that Mabu's personality ended up getting replaced, and his body was given a mechanical heart.
So I thought this scenario was an interesting thought experiment. Like, would you resurrect your significant other and have their personality replicated, knowing that it's not the same person?
Yeah, and then it is a good thought experiment, because is it really the same person? Because if it's just a replica, if it's just a doll, they use the word doll in this show a lot to describe stuff like this. If it's just like a marionette of what you had before, is it really what you had before? Even if it looks and sounds and acts identical.
I don't think I would.
I wouldn't either. I think it takes something away from the uniqueness of what you had before. And I think that's part of the reason, or at least I hope that's part of the reason that they're revealing this now, that's going to be what you see. That it's like, you might wish for this, you might wish you had someone back that you loved, but it still wouldn't be the same because they'd no longer be unique.
Yeah, and it's interesting that now that he's back, Reo's the right one, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Reo, like, he's not, like, satisfied with this replica, but at the same time, he doesn't want to kill him because it'll reopen old wounds. So he's just
he doesn't want to give up. He doesn't want to give up the replica, but at the same time,
he doesn't want to accept it either.
He's not happy with what he has got, but yet he doesn't want to let it go.
So, he wants to eat his. No, he wants to have his cake and eat it too.
Yeah, exactly. And in life, with many things, that's not how life works.
It's funny that like Reo calls Mabu selfish all the time, but like Reo's being pretty selfish himself.
Reo is the one being selfish. Let's not even mince words.
Big one being selfish, yeah.
Yeah. I'm very interested to see where they go with this, and if it plays out the way I think it's going to play out, it'll be pretty good. If what we've seen so far is any indication.
What, you're talking about more explicit otter scenes? Is that
maybe that too. Maybe that too.
Oh
but no, I'm talking about the thought experiment. Like,
yeah. That would be interesting.
If you could replace something that you lost, would it still be the same thing as what you lost? I mean, you don't even have to apply this to someone who's alive. You can apply this to any object that was unique to you. If you replace it with a replica, is it the same thing? Is it still unique?
It's like when my mom bought me a fake Beyblade, even though I knew it wasn't real. I never accepted it.
But you still let it rip, didn't you?
Oh, I let it rip.
All right, it's the last thing I want to talk about before we wrap up here is that I was fucking right all along that fucking Kepi and Sada are fucking both Kappa, king, queen, prince, princess, however you want to put it.
Yeah.
I was fucking right.
They went from first to fifth base. There was no courting. They just
Fifth
went
base.
and like they're already kissing. Like
I also
they didn't even show a scene of them meeting or like they're just
No.
like we're on a date. What did he say? Oh yeah, kaparu, we are a kaparu.
Yeah. I also like how they're like walking together down the street and he sees a Kappa statue and he puts a sticker on it that says, "This is a Kappa," and then he sees a frog statue, "This is a frog."
I know, I like that. That was funny.
I just think it's really interesting how Sada went from being in the first like 5 episodes. She was a pretty insignificant background character that was essentially a MacGuffin for the relationship between Kazuki and Haruka to being like an integral part of the storyline being told within 2 episodes.
And it was pretty. I mean, it was kind of out of nowhere, but it's.
It was an interesting way to play it, I think.
Definitely something. Although,
yeah, I just wanted to point out that I was fucking right about her.
Okay, I'll give you an otter cookie for that.
Mob. Yeah, anything else before I wrap this up? I think we pretty much covered everything in this episode.
Yeah, that's about it.
All right, well, thank you all there for dropping in to listen to us. We hope you enjoyed it because we always enjoy bringing this stuff to you. If you want to check out previous episodes of the podcast, you can find us on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. If you want to keep up with what we're doing, you can join us on Discord, Facebook, Twitter, and our website. Shoot us an email if you have any questions or comments, or if you have any ideas for topics you would like for us to cover in the future. Links to all these things will be down below in the description, and don't forget to tell us what you thought about episode 7 of Sarazanmai down below in the comments. As always, I have been your host, Alex, and I will see you next time. Say goodnight, show.
If you need to bake any more otter cookies, I'll be the oven.
Oh my.